Well, the world is watching North Korea tonight as the Hermit Kingdom prepares for a much-anticipated rocket launch, which has the country's neighbours, including Australia, worried. Pyongyang claims the rocket expected to be fired in the next few days is carrying a satellite, but the United States and its allies say it's a long-range ballistic missile, and one day it could be armed with a nuclear warhead. The tensions are compounded by threats from both South Korea and Japan to shoot down anything that strays into their airspace. For those hoping for calm on the Korean peninsula after the rise to power of the North's new leader, Kim Jong-un, this doesn't look promising. North Asia correspondent Mark Willesee reports.
It may be isolated, impoverished and enslaved by totalitarianism, but this week is one of colour and celebration in the Hermit Kingdom. This Saturday marks 100 years since the birth of North Korea's founding father and its eternal president, Kim Il-sung. A century on, his grandson, the 20-something Kim Jong-un, will this week assume the country's remaining leadership posts. And sometime from tomorrow, the young general plans to let off a rocket to celebrate.
The great commander Kim Jong-un is just like the President Kim Il-sung and also the great General Kim Jong-il in leadership and the love of their people.
Kim Jong-un certainly seems to have inherited his forebears' love of brinkmanship. Pyongyang insists this rocket launch is merely about putting an observation satellite into space.
The
launch of this satellite is the gift from our people to our great leader, Comrade Kim Il-sung, on the occasion of his 100th birthday, so this cannot be a missile test.
And the regime is promising what it calls merciless retaliation if Japan and South Korea carry out a threat to shoot down the eternal leader's birthday present.
In
order for Kim Jong-un to confirm his leadership, he must obtain legitimacy in line with Confucian values. One type of legitimacy is through his bloodline, but he desperately needs to gain another type of legitimacy by achieving some major feat, like launching this rocket.
Carl Ungerer is a national security specialist who's written extensively about nuclear proliferation. He says Pyongyang's strategy isn't as unpredictable as it seems.
They will continue this behaviour of provocation and propaganda and then seek to return to the negotiating table at some point. I think we have to keep in mind that the North Korea is isolated, it's autarkic, it is impoverished, and it ultimately requires some form of external assistance.
Last decade, Japan watched nervously as one long-range North Korean rocket crashed into the sea to its west, with a second flying over its main island during a later test. But as this computer simulation shows, the flight path set by Pyongyang this time is supposed to take the rocket due south past the Philippines and over Australia. Despite assurances from the Kim regime, Tokyo says it's prepared to intercept any rocket debris that threatens to land on its territory.
The Japanese government maintains the view that any launch of a missile, described as a satellite launch, is in violation of UN Security Council resolutions. In case of any contingencies, we are currently taking various preparations.
And these are part of Japan's preparations. Patriot interceptor missiles parked in the heart of Tokyo. It has more Patriot batteries down south in Okinawa and on 3 Navy destroyers, each ready to intercept any North Korean rocket debris posing a threat to Japanese territory. But the tension could escalate even further, with South Korea citing fresh satellite pictures to suggest the North is digging a new underground bunker in preparation for a third nuclear test. In 2006 and 2009, Pyongyang followed up long-range rocket launches by detonating nuclear devices.
There's a very high possibility that North Korea will conduct another nuclear test. After this rocket launch, the UN Security Council may pass another resolution or impose new sanctions against North Korea. So Pyongyang will probably respond to that with a nuclear test. That has always been their logic.
We are closely watching North Korea and the activity of North Korea's military with regards to the long-range missile launch and preparations for a nuclear test, based on the combined intelligence of the United States and South Korea.
For those who'd hoped North Korea's Swiss-educated new leader could turn out to be a groundbreaking reformer, this rocket launch shows he's more like a chip off the old block, prepared like his father and grandfather before him to push the region to the brink of open confrontation.
Reform and opening up the country would strip the ruling elite from power. So Kim Jong-un cannot undertake any reform. He must also take a military-first policy or risk losing the support of the generals.
I think we have to bear in mind that this particular test is not going to change the dynamic in North Korea greatly. They have tested these sorts of rockets before. They'll do so again.
Within hours, the launch sequence on this rocket could be activated. It will further isolate an almost friendless regime, led by a new generation of the Kim dynasty determined to win over the all-powerful military and tighten his grip on the world's most isolated and Orwellian state.
North Asia correspondent Mark Willesee.